My name is Miriam Grant. I work on the project team for the National Water Resources Plan in Irish Water. This presentation is on the Regional Water Resources Plan for the South West region, which Irish Water are consulting on from early June 2022 for a 12-week period. This presentation will outline what's included in the plan. It will give you information on where you can find the plan and also give you some information on the consultation itself. In terms of an introduction into the National Water Resources Plan, this is our 25-year strategy to ensure safe, secure, sustainable and resilient drinking water supplies for all of our customers. And it's all about ensuring that we have enough water available to meet a growing demand over the next 25 years, but at the same time safeguarding the environment. We need a plan like this to ensure that we're aligning our strategies in Irish Water with key EU and national policy. So for example, we account for the National Planning Framework, which sets out growth rates across our settlements in Ireland, and we use these in our demand projections. And also the Water Framework Directive and second cycle of the River Basin Management Plan, which will strongly influence what water bodies we're abstracting from and how much we're taking now and into the future. The plan allows us to set out a clear approach and target, so we're designing every scheme in the country to the same level of service, and it also allows us to be transparent in how we are prioritising investment for our drinking water supplies going forward. In terms of where the plan sits within the business, we have a legal requirement to develop out the Water Services Strategic Plan every 5 years, and that sets out our business objectives all around ensuring safe and secure water, meeting customer expectations, protecting and enhancing the environment, supporting social and economic growth, and investing in our future. Out of this comes Tier 2 plans, and one of these is the National Water Resources Plan, and that really sets the framework for how we will achieve those business objectives. And ultimately, out of the plan, we're feeding projects into our 5-year regulated capital investment plan. In terms of the plan structure, we're delivering it in 2 phases. Phase 1 is the framework plan, which we consulted on last year. This set out the need across all of our drinking water supplies nationally and the methodology we would use to, develop the plan and address that need. That was adopted in April, and it allowed us then to progress with Phase 2. Phase 2 is the development of 4 regional water resources plans. Earlier this year, we consulted on the Eastern and Midlands, and this phase now we're consulting on the second of these, which is for the South West region. As part of this consultation, we're consulting on the plan, the strategic environmental assessment, and the Natura impact statement, and the consultation period will run for 12 weeks. An introduction, into the region, it covers all of Cork, Kerry, and a small number of schemes in Waterford and Limerick. Within the region, we supply water to 594,000 customers. We have 172 groundwater abstractions, 73 surface water abstractions, and 227 water treatment plants within this region. So there's a huge amount of assets to look at and address the need for. In terms of risk, we have 174 water resource zones within the area, and these are really the 4 key things that we look at in terms of assessing risk. The first there is the supply-demand balance. On the supply side, you're either limited by the sustainable abstraction at the source or the sustainable operation at your treatment plant, and the lesser of these gives you what we call water available for use. On the demand side, we have accounted for water which is growing over time in line with National Planning Framework projections, plus unaccounted for water which is decreasing over time with the leakage reduction targets set by the business. We also apply a headroom allowance to account for any uncertainty, and that gives you your overall demand. As part of the plan, then, we're designing for the difference between the two. So if there is a deficit, you're looking at ways to increase supply, decrease demand, or a combination of the two. In terms of environmental sustainability, this is all about ensuring that we are developing sustainable solutions for the future to meet growing demand. We've seen in recent dry year critical periods or drought scenarios where we've had to use emergency interventions like sandbagging rivers to maintain levels at abstractions. And we need to be moving away from practices like this to ensure that we're protecting the environment and developing sustainable solutions that can meet the need of our customers. On the resilience side of things, as part of this plan, we're designing for a 1 in 50-year level of service. So that means that at any given time, there's a 2% chance that an outage would occur. So this is really a high, resilience level that we're designing for. And looking at our current asset base, it's an ambitious resilience target to be looking to achieve. On the quality side of things, over half of our water resource zones are at risk of delivering non-compliant water, but we are tackling issues systematically for prioritized areas through different investment programs. So what does that actually look like then for the 174 water resource zones within the Southwest region? Well, in terms of the supply-demand balance, over half of our water resource zones are in deficit under your normal year conditions. So this means that we don't have absolute certainty that we can meet your normal average day demands, and this is either due to a limitation at the abstraction or the sustainable operation of our treatment plant. In terms of environmental sustainability, when we apply the Water Framework Directive standards, this shows that 55 of our 73 surface water abstractions within the region are potentially at risk of exceeding sustainable abstraction limits. On the resilience side of things, almost a third of our water resource zones aren't achieving that 1 in 50-year level of service that we're designing on under your normal year conditions. This becomes much more critical then when you consider things like your drought scenario. And then on the quality side of things, 158 of our 227 water treatment plants have a high risk associated with one or more of the barriers. This doesn't mean that we're not compliant. 99% of the time, we're compliant with drinking water regulations, but it does mean that there's a risk there that, for example, we can't facilitate, adequate treatment at a plant if there's a change in our raw water quality. And that's really something that we need to look at and tackle going forward in terms of investment. So we take that risk, we look at a wide number of options to address that risk, and ultimately we've determined a preferred solution for every scheme within the region. What you see here is the preferred approach for the region itself. The first thing is really all around reducing leakage. This is a key focus for Irish Water now and will be going forward. At the end of 2021, leakage targets were at about 38% nationally. As part of the preferred approach, we're looking to reduce leakage down to about 23% by 2033 across this region. So in volumetric terms, that's a reduction from 152 megalitres a day down to 56 megalitres a day. So huge, ambitious targets set for that region. But really, it's a twofold situation and solution. So even if we do achieve those leakage targets, we do need to look at new supply options as well. So what you see here is really a summary of the preferred approaches for every scheme within the region. As part of the plan, we're looking to decommission about 90 water treatment plants. This will allow us to reduce the number of water resource zones that we're currently operating down from 174 to 94. We're looking to upgrade 137 of our water treatment plants. So where you see a blue dot, that's where we're proposing an upgrade for water quality only. So we'd be looking to maintain or reduce our abstraction to sustainable limits at those sites. And where you see an orange dot, that's where we're proposing to increase our abstraction and upgrade the treatment plant in terms of capacity. We're also proposing about 17 new water treatment plants across the region. In terms of some of the options here, or larger options across, just to summarise some of them, we're looking at rationalising Cahers Savine and Emla Pasta to Waterville here in Kerry, and your main source there would be Lough Corrine. We're also looking at developing potentially a new Lough Lane source, which would supply the deficit in Killarney and across into the mid-Kerry water resource zones where we currently have issues during drier critical periods. We're looking at expanding the Cork City scheme, so increasing our abstraction at Inniscarra, upgrading the treatment plant, and interconnecting or rationalising about 21 schemes. Some of these are on the outskirts of Cork City, but we're also looking at kind of larger transfers here down to Bandon and onwards to Clonakilty, where again, we have critical issues during your drought scenario. We're also proposing a new impoundment here at Bantry to supply the deficit here and also allow us to rationalise some of these smaller schemes out to Castletownbere. And really for the North Cork area, we're really focusing on developing out groundwater solutions there, particularly at Newmarket and Mallow, and allowing us again to rationalise some of the smaller schemes within those regions into your larger groundwater schemes. In terms of where you can find the plan itself, the plan will be available on water.ie to view. You will see a map of the area, and when you click this, you can zoom in to see exactly where an area is. Within the region, we've split this into 3 study areas, H, I, and J, and that's really just for ease of going into the detail and really viewing the information for your own area. So say, for example, you are interested in Abbeyfield, you can see that it lies within study area H. So when you scroll down the page, you'll come to the Regional Water Resources Plan for the South West, and all of the publications will be there. You'll have a non-technical summary and then also detailed appendices for each study area. So when you click into the appendix for study area H, you'll see a table of contents here, which will bring you through really the whole process from start to finish. So it will give you an introduction into the area. It will set out the need across all of the schemes, so you can see the need exactly for Abbeyfield, say, if that's your area of interest. You can see the options that we looked at. You can see the approach appraisal and ultimately how we determined the preferred approach, and then see, I suppose, the sensitivity analysis around that and how we, I suppose, we'll be looking at that going forward. This is just some of the information that you'll see within the kind of detailed appendices for a study area. Again, this is study area H, so it gives you, I suppose, an outline of all of the treatment plants within the area. So again, Abbeyfield is here. You can see that it's a surface water abstraction. There'll be tables here which set out the deficits in terms of the supply-demand balance. So again, for Abbeyfield, this is your dry year critical period scenario. You can see we have a deficit currently, and over the 25-year period, this will increase, and that's down to, growth within the area. You'll see tables like this, and again, there'll be a lot more detail within the plan itself, but it really sets out, this is the preferred approach that we're proposing. And you can see against the different approaches here in terms of cost, delivery, best AA, lowest carbon, most resilient, and best environmental. It scores best in terms of cost, well in terms of AA and carbon, and it scores relatively well under all of the other approaches, but ultimately that was determined as the best overall outcome. And then you'll just have a summary of, preferred approaches for every scheme, and there'll also be a schematic which will accompany these within the reports. So you can see for Abbeyfield, the preferred approach is to interconnect with Listowel and supply the deficit from new groundwater within the area. So how can you participate? The plan consultation will run for a 12-week period from early June to late August. The plan will be available to view on our website, www.water.ie, but it will also be available in hard copy format at local authority planning counters across the country. The project team will be holding webinars in June, so details of these will be made available on water.ie, and there'll be 2 during the day and 2 in the evenings. So we're trying to, I suppose, facilitate that as much as we can. During those webinars, we'll be giving a similar presentation to the one today, but it will also allow you to pose questions to the project team on the day, and hopefully this will help inform a submission at a later date. I suppose we really, really understand the importance of getting public feedback and bringing it back into the plan. You understand your areas, the issues that are within a supply in your area, and we understand, I suppose, how you've got good information around, your catchment and local environment. And we really need to take that information, bring it back into the plan, and ensure that we're adopting robust strategies for our drinking water supplies at the end of the day. You can send in any questions or submissions to nwrp@water.ie. During the post-consultation, all submissions will be reviewed and be responded to as part of a post-consultation report, and we are hoping to adopt the plan later in 2022. We will be consulting on the remaining 2 areas, so the Northwest and the Southeast regions, later in 2022. Thank you for listening to this presentation, and if you do have any questions or any comments on anything today, please send them in to nwrp@water.ie. Thanks very much.